In the bright and sunny village of Brightwood, a young knight in training named Sir Jaydon was having a very clumsy day. Clank, clatter, crash! He stumbled in his heavy armor, tripping over his own feet and sending training dummies flying. The chickens scattered in a flurry of feathers. Watching from a nearby windowsill, a tiny fairy named Carissa giggled, her sparkly blue wings fluttering with amusement. Jaydon, trying his best, just couldn't seem to get his footing right. Feeling a bit discouraged, Jaydon dared away from the training yard and into Master Terran's magical laboratory. The room was a wonderland of bubbling potions, floating books, and glowing crystals. In the center of it all, the wise old wizard with his long silver beard was carefully mixing a shimmering purple potion. He was so focused that he didn't notice Jaydon admiring the colorful bottles lining the shelves, each one radiating a different magical glow. Master Terran announced he needed some special herbs from his garden and stepped outside. Left alone, Jaydon's curiosity got the better of him. He stared at the shimmering purple potion on the workbench. It looked just like fizzy grape juice. Just as he lifted the flask for a taste, Carissa zipped into the room shouting, "Jaydon, no, don't drink that!" But it was too late. He took a big, thirsty gulp. The potion tasted like fizzy starlight and made his tummy tingle in the strangest way. Suddenly, Jaydon began to shimmer. He looked down at his hands, watching them fade like morning mist. A moment later, his entire body vanished. His heavy armor clanked to the floor in an empty heap. "Whoa! Where did I go?" He cried out in a panic, his voice seemingly coming from thin air. Carissa's eyes grew wide with surprise and worry as she fluttered around the empty space where her friend used to be. Just then, Master Terran returned. He found the pile of empty armor and a very distressed fairy buzzing around in an invisible, panicking voice. After Carissa quickly explained what had happened, the kind wizard simply chuckled. "Don't you worry, Jaydon," he said calmly. "You've only had a sip of my one-day invisibility potion. The magic will wear off at sunset. Think of it as a special gift for the day." Back in the courtyard, Carissa helped Jaydon get used to being invisible. It was tricky at first. He bumped into a wall, then nearly tripped over a stray bucket. But with Carissa guiding him, he soon learned to move quietly and gracefully. He discovered he could still pick things up, even though he couldn't see his own hands. Carissa acted as his eyes, and together they plotted how to use this invisible day for some secret adventures. Their first stop was the village square, where they heard the sad sobs of Mrs. Honeybee. Her beloved orange cat, Whiskers, had been missing for 2 whole days. Jaydon whispered a plan to Carissa. Since no one could see him, he could search in places no one else could reach. They began their search, scanning rooftops and squeezing through narrow alleys, a place a knight in clunky armor could never go. It wasn't long before Jaydon spotted a flash of orange fur. There was Whiskers, perched high on a tall, steep roof, too scared to climb down. Using his invisibility to his advantage, Jaydon scaled the building without anyone seeing. He gently coaxed the frightened cat into his invisible arms. To the villagers watching below, it was a miracle. It looked as if Whiskers was floating down from the sky, guided by the sparkly trail of Carissa's fairy dust. Next, they smelled trouble at the village bakery. Mr. Jason was in a panic. His big brick oven had broken down right before the annual harvest festival. While Carissa distracted the flustered baker with her playful aerial loops, the invisible Jaydon snuck behind the huge oven. He used his knightly strength to push the loose stones back into place and cleared the blocked chimney pipe. With a final puff of soot, the oven roared back to life, and Mr. Jason couldn't believe his luck. Their adventures continued in the marketplace. Farmer Green was grumbling because his prize-winning vegetables were disappearing from his garden every night. Jaydon and Carissa decided to become invisible detectives. They hid in the garden after dark and waited. Soon they saw the culprits, a family of hungry rabbits, quietly nibbling on carrots and lettuce to feed their little ones. But Jaydon didn't want to scare them away. Instead, he had a kinder idea. He gently herded the rabbit family towards a wild meadow just beyond the village, a place full of delicious clover and dandelions. While Carissa lit the way with her fairy glow, Jaydon used his invisible hands to build them a cozy new burrow, ensuring the family would be safe and well-fed without raiding the farmer's garden. As they made their way back through the village, they saw a merchant whose wagon wheel was stuck deep in the mud from a recent rainstorm. The merchant huffed and puffed, but the wagon wouldn't budge. While Carissa sang a cheerful song to distract him, invisible Jaydon got behind the wagon and gave it a mighty push. With a great squelch, the wheel popped free. The merchant just scratched his head, thinking it was a stroke of good fortune. Not far away, a group of children were looking sadly at a tall fence. Their colorful ball had bounced into their grumpy neighbor's yard, and he refused to give it back. Quick as a flash, invisible Jaydon climbed the fence, grabbed the ball, and tossed it back over to the delighted children. As they cheered, Carissa created a dazzling light show in the sky, a perfect distraction, so no one would question the ball's magical return. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow over Brightwood, Jaydon and Carissa headed back to Master Terran's tower. Jaydon felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the setting sun. He was proud of all the good they had done. "You were a real hero today, Jaydon," Carissa chirped, complimenting him on how he helped everyone without needing any thanks. They stood together in the courtyard, watching the last rays of sunlight disappear. Just as the sun vanished, Jaydon began to shimmer again. First his hands reappeared, then his arms, until finally his whole body solidified. The magic had worn off. He quickly put his armor back on, but he felt different, now more confident, and somehow kinder. Master Terran appeared, a warm, knowing smile on his face. "I saw everything through my crystal ball," he said. "You've learned an important lesson today, Jaydon. A true knight's greatness isn't measured by praise or recognition. The best heroes are often the ones no one sees." Carissa nodded in agreement, her wings twinkling proudly. The next morning, the village was buzzing. Everyone was talking about the mysterious miracles. Mrs. Honeybee was cuddling Whiskers. Mr. Crumb's bakery was filled with the scent of fresh bread, and tales of floating cats and self-fixing ovens were on everyone's lips. Jaydon walked through the happy crowd with Carissa perched on his shoulder, sharing a secret smile. Later, at the training ground, Jaydon picked up his sword. This time, he moved with a newfound grace and purpose. He wasn't clumsy anymore. He now understood that being a hero wasn't about being the strongest or the most skillful fighter. It was about having a kind heart and a willingness to help. He completed his entire training routine without a single stumble, as Carissa cheered him on. That evening, as Jaydon polished his armor, Master Terran approached him, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "I have a new project that might interest you, Sir Jaydon," the wizard said. "It's a flying carpet that needs a brave knight to test it out." Carissa bounced with excitement, and Jaydon grinned from ear to ear, ready for his next adventure. Subscribe, share, thanks for watching. Joyful gospel kids with stories and adventures, faith, and friends. Bye for now.